Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Untomato. But this particular episode is known as the Talking Drum. I'm your host, Dr. Onyoha Osimiri, Ambassador Dr. Onyoha Osimiri. It is my joy and pleasure to be with you today. Today is a very important day for most Nigerians, wherever we are. We are talking about something very, very important and precious to us that's in Nigeria on February, March, on the 20, this year, February 25th, the election was held in Nigeria. And the impact that it's having on the Nigerians right now is quite traumatic, may I say. Quite traumatic. And we're just going to kind of talk about it. But I want to start for the moment by just welcoming my guest today. Her name is Akachi Azubike. Welcome. Good to have you here. How are you today?
Thank you. I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. Well, you're my fellow Nigerian, so we're pretty much experiencing the same thing today. So we're just going to take some time and have a conversation about what's going on. How are my people feeling about what's going on? This is not to criticize, but it's just to put the information out there so that all of us can kind of take the time and digest it and see if what happened with the election, if it was free, if it was fair and free. Positive psychology reminds us that learned helplessness happens when nothing that you do matters. Let me say that again. Learned helplessness happens when nothing that you do matters. It is not the trauma itself that produces a sense of helplessness. It is the inescapable trauma it does. If you feel nothing that you can do about it, that's when depression sets in, and that's when you feel a sense of helplessness. But if you can do something about your trauma, then that's where positivity comes into play. Nigeria seems to be in a state of helplessness now, because it doesn't seem to matter what the millions of people who came out to vote for their preferred candidate were not allowed to do so in any semblance of orderliness. The process of tallying the vote appeared to be flawed, had been very flawed, full of manipulation and mad violence. People were protesting the fact that some of their ballots were stolen by armed bandits and sometimes by the police. And members of the opposition party, which is not the way it was supposed to be. As a consequence, you have a lot of young people in a state of trauma. Unbelievable. These young people had been told many times that what they had to do was bring out their PVCs. Go and get your PVCs, they were told. And they did. And they did in millions. Certainly not as many of them as registered, voted, but enough of them did that it was supposed to make a change. And that's what they were voting for a change. These young people have been going through education, getting their education and not getting jobs. And as a matter of fact, the horror of not being able to get your money because of the money the change of in the monetary system, people could not get money. They couldn't get old money. It was supposed to be replaced with new money, but the new money wasn't accessible to everybody except for the privileged few. So you had that kind of trauma. But these young people it didn't matter to them. They didn't ask for bribery from their preferred candidate. They went out there. They did it. They understood it was about them. They understood this was their day. This was their opportunity. This was their opportunity to make a change. And like I said, positive psychology reminds you that learned helplessness happens when nothing that you do matter. Nothing that you do matters. This is where these young people are right now. They wanted to do something. They didn't want to be helpless anymore. They didn't want to be depressed anymore. They wanted to go out there and make a change. This is what they were promised, that if you go out there, you get your PVC, if you get involved, you are going to make a change. You're going to make a difference in Nigeria. And they did that. And they did that. INEC promised them that. The question today that we're going to talk about is, can a leader whose polity does not accept him as the rightful winner of the Nigerian election, be able to lead the country? It's not a matter of you won. It's a matter, how did you win? And not only that, do you have the mandate to lead? This is important. It's not about winning. It is about how you win. Because you see, as Peter B, the candidate, the presidential candidate for the Labour Party, LP, as he so eloquently stated, you cannot call yourself Your Excellency. It's the way you got into that position has to be excellent. What are we teaching our children? That it doesn't matter, the young people of Nigeria who are the future leaders, what are we teaching them? It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter how hard you work. Nigeria does not belong to you, it belongs to a few individuals. Our leaders must stop and think. You cannot govern a people who don't want you to govern them. If you came into power illegally, you need to consider, why are you here? What is the objective of your leadership? Is it to acquire wealth for yourself and your family and those who put you in office, or is it to serve the people? Bola Ahmed Adekunle Tinubu, a Nigerian accountant, a politician, has been declared the president and winner of the February, I'm sorry, it's February 23rd, not 25th, my apologies. February 25th, 23rd, I'm getting those days tongue-tied, election held in Nigeria by the Independent Nigerian Electoral Commission, INEC. He was selected by them. Yes, it was a selection. Let's be honest about it. And I will tell you why. There had to be a selection. His opponents, His Excellency Peter Obi, the Labour Party candidate, Atiku Abubakar, the People's Democratic Party candidate, presidential candidate, 5 to 6 states across the nation, and millions of Nigerian citizens are crying foul. Even the international observers did not give a glowing assessment of the electoral process as conducted by INEC. The problem is that INEC promised that everything will be well. Everything will be conducted appropriately and accordingly. I'm going to play a little video of what the INEC chairman promised Nigerians. And quite frankly, that's why the Nigerians came out in droves. That's why we were out there. So let me play this video, because word was going around, that was in 2022, that it was going to be rigged. And he made a promise that that is not so. And here he is speaking to that fact. And then you and I will jump into the conversation in a second.
To respond to, that.
Pardon me, I'm trying to get it.
Let me seize this opportunity. Respond to the nation of the commission to jettison the of polling unit level result real-time election day. It should please be disregarded as fake news. The Commission upload polling unit level results and we will access results in real time as well as polling units. Was not turn around. This technology will level results for the polling unit. Citizens will have the right to view these results. After all, who are we serving? The citizens. How can we deprive citizens from access to the results of the process conducted by them at the level of polling units? So I welcome you to the commission. I want to say that the 2023 general election is going to be our best ever elections. We are confident that the votes cast by Nigerians will determine the outcome of it, more, nothing less.
Well, I'm going to bring you in, Akachi, and we have so much more to talk about, but I just want us to talk about that aspect of the election that motivated many individuals to go out to the polls. Now, don't you see that that conversation made it possible that young people felt, hey, okay, it's a new day. It's a new day. Let's just go out there and do something and vote. And they went and voted by the millions. So talk to me, Adkachi. You're a young person, and you've been listening, you've been watching the news, you've been going online, and give me your energy, your fever, so to speak. How are you feeling about what happened in Nigeria?
I mean, first and foremost, I feel the pain of, young people who started a movement within SARS and are pushing for a new and better Nigeria. And essentially you had, these people in positions of power, INEC, who gave them a false sense of hope. They wanted to string them along as if there was going to be change. And obviously there is none, we're seeing discrepancies right now with the tallying of the vote. And, it's disappointing. I was in a Twitter space early this morning. It was like 3 a.m. It was actually still going on. I went to sleep and woke up. They were still talking. There's a Twitter space with Peter Obi's Twitter page, as well as others who are talking about how we need to respond to this, what we can do wherever we are, whether we're in the diaspora or whether we're in Nigeria. But there's a lot of, I think there's a little bit of hope, that what we're seeing with the results, that there can be proof and change in terms of the true winner. We get to the bottom of who is the true winner, but there's also a push and there's a lot of fervor for, regardless of what the outcome may be after court, that a new Nigeria will be created one way or another, regardless of who's in office.
That's right. And the point that I started to make earlier was that the people initially had this sense of helplessness, but like you said, it's changing. The mind is changing. Yes, we can do something about that, because now the truth is coming out. With all that truth, you can see, wait a minute, it had nothing to do with you. It had something to do with other people manipulating and taking your mandate, taking your vote, taking your voice. And that is what we must get in the habit of not accepting. I don't care if you're in America or in Britain, in Africa. It doesn't matter where you are. You have a voice. Your vote is your voice, and you need to hold it to your heart, to your chest. Because if you can't get around, just because a rich person can only cast one vote. You, a poor person, if that's what your condition in the world is, you are equal. The voting allows you to be on equal keel with anyone else. And when that is challenged, you must fight for it. Lose all your terror of opposition for it. This is what is going on. On the internet, people are saying no. They're waking up. Some people actually, some of the young people went out and started tearing up their PVCs. Oh, it doesn't even matter what I do. But you know what? When you decide that yes, you can do something, you don't worry so much about the result of the moment. Now you want to see, can I change the moment? Can I make things change? And that's where you have to. There's a young woman, and I'm going to. She's on. I hope that I can share this properly, but I want to share this just a picture. You're just going to see the picture of this young woman who was injured. She was badly injured when she wanted to vote, but it didn't stop her. It didn't stop her. Instead, she went out there, went to the hospital, got her stitches, and still came back. And I just want to see her picture. There she is. And her name is Bina Jennifer Efidi. Okay? She was hit with a sharp object while she was waiting to vote in Lagos. Take a good look at this woman. Look at the level of injury to her. And yet, at that moment, she was not thinking there was nothing I could do. She didn't allow helplessness. She didn't allow the trauma to keep her from doing that which she knew she could do. And that was to go out there and fight for her right. So she went out there and she voted. She voted regardless. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Are you able to hear me now? Can you hear me? I don't know what happened to the voice, but I can't hear you, Akachi. So it must be you. I can hear myself, but I can't hear you. No, I can't hear you either. I cannot hear you. So, so I'm going to continue. Okay. You okay now? Are you okay now?
Yes.
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah,
I can hear you.
Yeah, okay. Something happened with the. So I apologize to the audience for the temporary disconnection, But what I was saying, showing that picture, that woman gave me so much hope. She gave me so much hope that it doesn't matter your condition. It doesn't matter what happens to you. You've got the capacity. You have the ability to change your condition. You can't complain about what people are doing to you or what people did to you. What you do is say, okay, this too shall pass. Now I got something to do. Get out of my way. And you keep going. This is what she did. And I'm telling you, she gave a lot of people hope. Mm-hmm. And there is something else, when something is going wrong, when you're doing something wrong, I always tell people, we don't understand our world, we don't really understand our world, because sometimes something just comes into play to remind you what you're doing is going to come to light. People are going to see it. You can, anything that's done in the dark, the sun, the light shall shine upon it, and the world will see. But Akachi, I want to share this little video. This really, you can't explain it. I couldn't explain it. How is it that the INEC workers were sitting underneath a tent, and there were other tents where other people were sitting, preparing to vote? But that tent, let me not talk about it. You probably have seen it, but in case you haven't seen it, watch this. You have to wonder what happened there. And that little cyclone just focused on where INEC was. You see, so you don't know, and some people will say, "Oh, that's crazy," but hey, I know what I saw with my eyes. To me, I say, hey, the ancestors are talking and say, "No, you can't play this game." And beyond that, all these things that are coming out, Why did you think? It's probably an obvious question. Why do you think that a person who there were 30 million voters in total that did not cast the vote for the winner? 25 states did not cast their vote for the winner. His own state, his place of origin, Osun State, did not cast the vote for him. The state he built, which is Lagos State, did not cast the vote for him. Abuja, the state of power, did not cast the vote for him. His vice president lost his own state. His party chairman lost his state, Nasarawa State. The deputy governor of the person who was in charge of his campaign lost his state, Plateau. The person that who's the leader of his party lost Katsina. His main henchman, El Rufai, I think that's his name, lost Kaduna. He himself lost Kano. The question is, how does then win the presidency? So I present to you, I ask you the question, how is that possible? I mean, for those who understand numbers, how is that possible?
Because he didn't win. I mean, that's why there was such sadness. I mean, for me, that Twitter space that I was on early this morning, 3 a.m., what was encouraging to me is people were galvanizing, people are organizing online and trying to figure out what we need to do in the diaspora to strategize, to assist Peter Obi, to assist change, to assist however we need to for this new Nigeria to be created. Because initially some of the people that I spoke with, they were just like, oh, that's too bad, let's pray about it. And I was like, what? Like, no, I was like, we need to protest, like we need to do something. Like, I don't care that we're here, there's something that we can do. I don't know, however minimal, there is always something that we can do and not simply pray about it. And so that's what was refreshing to me, is that people are organizing and we're figuring out. One of the things that they were doing is making sure that each person who was able to vote, that you get a copy of or have photographs or video of the polling station results, and that those they're trying to get all of that evidence to Peter Obi and his legal team. So there is work that's happening to get justice, to bring truth to this matter.
Some individuals say, well, in spite of all of these myriad of evidence, I mean, when you see all of these evidence and you still ask the question, well, do you think the court, wait a minute, what is the purpose of the court? The purpose of the court is to see evidence and rule on the evidence presented. So that means both parties have the responsibility to present both their own evidences. Do you understand? The Supreme Court of Nigeria must not, excuse the expression, screw this one up.
Right.
They can't. It is not about them. It is about Nigeria. They are not in office for themselves. They are in office to represent the will of the people, the needs of the people, the well-being of the people. If they mess this one up, in spite in spite of all the evidence, if they mess this one up, they will never be able to redeem themselves. Now, there are all kinds of reasons that, people are saying, well, the Supreme Court, they may rule based on technicalities and all that. Perhaps in the past, perhaps if it was something else. But this one is in your face.
Right.
It's in your face. Now, let me say something about Tinubu. If Tinubu had won fairly, hey, he's the winner.
Right.
We will all have to adjust to the fact that this guy won. And so all we have to do now is put demands on him to meet our requirements, to make sure that the needs of the Nigerians are, the well-being of the Nigerians are his focus, and that things change. If he won, when somebody tells you, well, let's just sing Kumbaya, something that Peter Obi said. Peter Obi, see, this is one of the things I like about this gentleman, is that he's not a drama king. He's very mild-mannered, but he's intelligent. He's very intelligent. He says, it is not about me reaching across the aisle for peace. You cannot build peace on lies, on a weak foundation. If this was done properly and a real winner emerges, then of course, it's the right thing to do. But what are we saying to our young people? And I think he said, if a thief steals your car and he's maintaining it, he's doing a good job maintaining the vehicle, should you go and congratulate him and say, thank you for maintaining my vehicle? Or would you challenge the theft? It is not about finding peace. Peace without a solid foundation cannot lead to peace. Anything that's based on falsities, it's not going to work. So he's not asking anybody to go out there and start rioting, because you can't do that, because that's not necessary. You have enough information to hand to the court to make the right decision. And if the court decides that in spite of the information in front of them, now this is the information that you and I have. Maybe they have, maybe Tinubu has something we don't know. Maybe the chairman has something we don't know. But this is their opportunity to present it. So we as Nigerians, we need to stay calm, keep the temperature down, but just trust in the, it's kind of hard to say trust in the process anymore, because it's the trusting in the process that got us here in the first place. Well, this is another process, trust in it. But I would say, what about the fact that a lot of young people, as a young woman, what are your thoughts about the fact that a lot of young people are just tearing up their, they're tearing up their PVCs, and, they don't want to continue. They don't want to do it again. As far as they're concerned, it's over.
Well, that was something else that was spoken about early this morning on Twitter Space, is how there's a push. If nothing else, we can advocate for our people to not do that, and how important the election is coming up. I think it's March the 11th, right?
Yes.
Yes, that we participate, and that we overwhelmingly participate and make sure that the Labour Party is successful. So there was a lot of galvanization that was going on with everyone, because there were people who were in Nigeria. There were a lot of people who were in Nigeria, but there were also people who were in the US and other places. And so I felt, just from that conversation, because this is happening essentially every night, so I felt very confident that the people that was an initial emotional response to tear your voter card, but now people are realizing, the fight is on more than ever now. This is not the time to throw in the towel.
That's right. It's not. If you're drowning, I don't know if I told you this story when I was young, and my mother told me not to go into the river because I couldn't drown. I couldn't swim, right? But all the other children were swimming and they were saying "Erubis alia," which means "Oh, look, I can stand on the on the bottom. You know, you can come in, join me, right?" Mm-hmm. So what did I do? Like a foolish child, I jumped in, even though I knew I couldn't swim. But I saw everybody was excited and they could do this thing, so I jumped in and I started drowning. Right? Well, at that moment, you have a choice: either you drown or you fight like heck to get out of this thing. And I was fighting. I gave it everything I could until I came up to the lower side of the stream. And this woman, you know, who she was by the waterside, and she looked at me and she said, "Erubis, Alia." So, well, you finally found the bottom of the stream. So, what in effect I'm saying is, you may, if you're drowning, you don't give up. Mm-hmm. Because you will drown. Mm-hmm. In the moment that you find yourself challenged, it's not the time for you to say, "Well, I give up. You know, I can't do this anymore." There's too much evidence showing that this could be corrected. Your thoughts on that?
I absolutely, you know, I'm an optimist.
Yeah.
I believe that in the end, you know, good and truth will prevail one way or another. And on some level, I feel like this is a good thing that happened.
Yes.
Because I feel like the fight for Nigeria by Nigerians has to commence on a stronger level, you know?
That's right.
So I feel like it was also mentioned that the hope is to get these people prosecuted, you know, not just for, you know, justice and the election results to be corrected, but for people to face justice. And so that was also, I mean, I'm all for that. So I was happy to hear that because, like I said, when I heard people, you know, saying, "Oh, you know, that's too bad and I'm disappointed and we should just pray about it," I mean, that's just not my spirit. So I think that fire was ignited further, or they just added fuel to it within SARS and with this situation. And I also think and I hope that this is something that gets the attention of people who are not Nigerian, you know, people who are in the West, people who are also bordering Nigeria and other African nations in general, because, you know, I wrote about this, but the future of Nigeria impacts Africans worldwide.
Yes. Nigeria is a powerhouse of Africa. If it's not doing well, even Mbeki of South Africa made that clear. If Nigeria is not doing well, it impacts the rest of a matter of fact, it puts pressure on the few that are doing well. Places like Ethiopia, South Africa, and all. I don't know which other one. There's Ethiopia, there's South Africa,
Ghana,
Ghana. No, it puts pressure on them. But even those people are doing well, Nigeria is still considered, okay, the epicenter of power if it's given the right leadership. And if it falters at this time, I don't know that Africa is going to ever come out of the problems we're having. It is time for the elders to make room for the younger people, because after all, they're the ones who are going to inherit the country. Now, let me tell you something. Let's be honest. You know, the elders have their role to play. The elders have their, you cannot say, "Oh, just let the youth." The youth have a lot to contribute, but so do the elders. But then, to what degree do you put your hand on the youth? You have to let go, back up a little bit. Let them bring new information to add to what you've got. But the leadership is going to have to be handed over to the younger people who will inherit the future. The rest of us can contribute. I consider myself an elder, and I'm very proud of it. Many people died yesterday, but here I am, still walking amongst the living. Do you understand? I know I have a lot to share. Like you, Akachi, as a young woman, you call me all the time. There's a role that I play in your life. There's some things in your young mind that you don't know. But I've been there. I've walked the walk. I've talked the talk. I know some of those things that you need help with. That is my role. That is the role that the elders must understand. You've got a lot to give to our younger people. You need to be prepared to share that. But you cannot hold on to power forever. You got people who are 90 years old. 90, listen, reality of life. Let me just tell you about reality. Mm-hmm. As you get older, there are just certain things you can't do no more. Mm-hmm. But there's certain things you can hold on to, that you can give, to add, to give to the young people. Like this show, I always say, you know, the words of wisdom that you can add to your repertoire. There are words of wisdom that everybody has words of wisdom, but there's certain things that you can learn just from listening to me, just from listening to elders. That's why in African culture, people go and sit at the feet of the elders to hear, to learn. But when you've taught them enough, then you've got to give them the room to go out there and apply what they've learned. What is the purpose of them going to school? What is the purpose of making them engineers, lawyers, doctors? What is the purpose if they can't apply it? Because because of your thirst for power. You cannot lead a nation of people who don't want you to lead them. Tinubu is an elder. He's an elder. I'm sure he has something to share. But this is not the time for him. Nigeria is a very complex nation. Do you understand what I'm trying to tell you? Very complex. It has a lot of problems, and he needs somebody who's agile and prepared and whose mind is functioning at full capacity to lead it out of the mess we're in. I read some information that was sent when this was before the announcement of Tinubu as the president. Somebody announced that, you know, that was, I think it was like 2 days before the election, and they were before he was announced. Now, how did they know he was going to be the, you know, that's very interesting. But, you know, make it short, you know, we all got to go to bed. These are the people who are going to lead who? Peter Obi says that when he was a governor, 3 a.m., he's still awake. Akachi, you call me. How often do you call me? When Akachi calls me, you would text, are you still up? Yes, I'm up. I'm working. If you're going to lead, you don't go to bed at 8 a.m. I mean, you know, there's an African proverb that says, when you wake up is your morning. I understand that. I get that. We need to have good number of hours of sleep. But believe it or not, many of those people whose handiwork you're enjoying today, many of them had sleepless nights. Mm-hmm. Peter Obi was saying, I stay up. Mm-hmm. President Barack Obama told us how he used to stay up when his wife and children have gone to bed late into the night. He was working. You need somebody who can stay late into the night. And I'm telling you, 80, 81, 82, you need to be resting your mind. Do you hear what I'm saying? No, I'm not trying to be funny here. I'm trying to keep it here. Nigeria needs somebody who's going to be alert all the time. Because the world is looking up to Nigeria. Let me tell you something now. When I talk about the world is looking up to Nigeria, I'm not just talking about Nigeria. Nigerians make the world great. Nigerians are the most productive citizens anywhere. Immigrants, powerful immigrants. And it's important that their homeland is doing well as well. They don't need to just take their skill sets and give it away because their homeland is not in order. Can you imagine if Nigerian professionals go back home? When you consider what they do for the rest of the world, think about it, my sister. You know what kind of Nigeria will be?
Wakanda.
Wakanda.
That's the goal.
That's the goal. Mm-hmm. You know, so it's so important that we get it right. Mm-hmm. because of climate change and all kinds of challenges going on. You need somebody up on it. Somebody who has ideas, who knows what to do. What is the manifesto that has been presented by APC right now to help Nigeria? What is it? I'm looking for it. I'm asking you, what do you know to be the case? What do you know to be the case?
I have no idea.
I've looked for it.
I have no idea. You know, wow. There's so much I could say. There's so much I could say. When I think about the power of Nigeria right now, what's been in my mind is what happens when Africans, specifically in the United States and Nigeria, become strong and have cohesion with one another. I think that will change the globe for all African people.
Mm-hmm.
Because the power and influence of Black people in the United States and the power and influence of Nigeria, I think that is the potential to literally change the African world order. And that's why I feel like people who may not see this as something that's important to them or that it impacts or affects them in one way or another, it does. Even if it's indirectly and even if it takes a little bit of time. First of all, what happens anywhere we understood as African people impacts us everywhere. You know,
Yes.
what DuPont, and yes, I'm calling them out, what they were doing, creating Teflon
Mm-hmm.
and non-stick products has impacted the entire world with forever chemicals that are in you and I and every unborn child that we cannot remove just because of what that one company did on the eastern side of east coast of America.
Mm-hmm.
People who had nothing to do with that have forever chemicals. Every living organism has found, we find these chemicals that we cannot break down. Mm-hmm. Our bodies cannot break down organically. And so what happens in Nigeria, I can't press that upon the diaspora enough. It impacts all of us because the future, as far as I'm concerned, is Wakanda, and Africa is lit. And that's what we're supposed to be creating, period.
That's right. That's right. And it's so important that we do the right things because I'm sure you probably heard about the young man who committed suicide. This is how much hope he had. There are so many people who were really banking on P2B, you know. Now, to be fair, there were some individuals who were banking on PDP, you know, and there were some people, of course, who were voting for Tinubu. But the point of the matter, however, is that information has, for the most part, you know, shown that a lot of the votes, really, the ones that were being discarded, that were never counted, you know, was P2B. He was actually leading. Now, some people say, well, you know, the Igbos can never rule Nigeria. You know, Nigerians don't want Igbos to rule, so it will never happen. But let me say this to you. It isn't the Yorubas who caused this. It isn't the Hausas who caused this. It isn't all of them came together. We were one Nigeria the day that we voted. It is the leadership group, INEC, and some of the party leaders that did this. So for anybody who says Nigeria should break up because of this, that's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. That I'll say it again with passion. That is ridiculous. Nigeria belongs to us, and all its resources belong to us. This is not a time to start whining about let's break up. This is not. This is the time to fight for Nigeria. Fight for Nigeria. Stop trying to do the tribal nonsense. Because I'm gonna tell you, people who voted, the people who voted were Northerners. Westerners. I want to read something that one of participants here written. Welcome, Dibio Charter. Western style democracy is not a one size fits all. Had we synthesized our traditional democratic systems for the 20th and 21st centuries, political corruption would have been a fleeting notion. In the late Julius Nyerere's view, former president of Tanzania and a Pan-Africanist, Nyerere had long held that the ethical values of traditional African society were essentially socialist. He saw Africa's special opportunity and challenge in terms of giving a modern expression to these values, which is true.
Mm-hmm.
It's very true. You know, if you look at what's going on at some of all these different countries, they use their traditional values. You know, when you have a value system that's based on capitalism, you know, and not on the social welfare of the people, then you run into people who are just so obsessed with money that they don't care the impact their obsession has to on society. Go ahead. You have something to say.
Yes, thank you for that point, because that's exactly what I have talked about with a few people here in the diaspora, is how do we evolve or revolve back to ways that uphold our culture, our traditions, our values, because capitalism is built on exploitation.
Yes.
And that's why you don't have to have tribalism. As much as some people who might not be aware, and they might look to Nigeria and think, oh, this was, you know, tribalistic. Capitalism might in fact supersede that, because it creates an exploitative class, and it creates a division of wealth and power based on the use of people for a labor force, you know, with no real equity in the society that they play a full participating role in, while the other people are able to sleep at night and collect checks off of the work of the people. So, you know, that's exactly how I view this entire election. You know, they got the people to come out and make them feel like they participated. And in the end, it was already decided, you know, this is my personal view.
It was decided. Yeah.
Who was going to become the president. And I feel like, you know, and I haven't, you know, read so much on this yet, but I do know that there was a level of support that was taking place with anti-apartheid movement with Africans in the United States and Africans in South Africa. And I feel like those are the types of course, reciprocal, but those are the types of unions that we need to form to basically fight for a better Africa, for a better Nigeria, for a better stake in the world for us as a people. Because I've seen reports, I haven't been able to read these studies yet, but there's expectations that Nigeria is going to be a failed state within the next 5 to 10 years. And I can assure you that, you know, Asia and Europe, even though they might say they cared throughout their news publications about this election, they would be more than happy for that to take place.
That's true. You know, some of these things that are happening in Nigeria, and that's why it's so important that we stop being we're not dependent on too much aid. You know, that we do for ourselves. I know there was a question that was presented to His Excellency Peter Obi, and they asked him, you know, if he has consulted with the international community. And he wasn't trying to be disrespectful in any way. All he was trying to say was that, you know, this is a Nigerian problem. Nigeria needs to get in the habit of solving its own problem. We can do it. We don't always have to look outside of ourselves to solve problems. I mean, it's the same thing as the individual. You don't always have to look outside of yourself. You know, it's okay to get some help now and then, but when all is said and done, you still have to look within. We need to look within as Nigerians and solve our problems, because there's an African proverb that says, that means that you don't climb the okra tree and let go. You're going to slide down. You have to hold on. You understand? You can't say, oh, well, and that's something that you said earlier about people praying. You cannot, because you feel that God is there, that you can just let go. Let's just pray. Prayer without action is a waste of time. It's a wasted exercise. It does. You must add some action to your prayer for it to become a reality. I just want to let my people know this is a situation that has happened, and we can make a change. We can change it. We can change it, and we don't even have the room to say, maybe not this time. No, this time. It's got to change now, because you may not have another time. And that's why when people say, let us sing Kumbaya, we shouldn't go out in the streets by any means to riot. No. There's no room for that. We have to use our brains. All these young people who are tech savvy, they are showing it by some of the things that are coming out that nobody even knew. I'm sure the INEC had no clue this was going to happen. I'm going to tell you that. They did not know. They didn't expect none of this.
Yeah, there are people hacking to get the information that we need, which is
great.
Oh
my goodness. So many things are coming out, and according to we're told don't disclose too much. Some things have to go to court. So, but there is so much information. Our people, we can come out of this. We can come out of this. I made a little video that I want to share, and I just want to talk through that video. And if you would just bear me, I hope, the internet here, for some reason, we have, it goes in and out. So things are slowed up or not. So if the video is a little bit slow, just forgive it. But, I just have something that I wrote as I made this video. This is, I tell you what, this is probably how everybody felt. Everybody did something, just to get over this, just to calm themselves. I had to do this video, and that's how I felt. And I was just talking talking to myself, and hopefully talking to others. So I'm going to share this video, and see, I just wanted to let my fellow Nigerians know that when you've been given so much, you've given so much to something, there's a tendency for you to have high hopes that it will go your way. And if it doesn't, you may become heartbroken. But now it's not time to fall apart. Yes, cry if you must. No matter how difficult we think the problem is, we must muster up the courage to face it. Pause if you must, cry if you want to, but don't you dare quit. Very often we find that what we think is the matter is not really what the problem is. We can overcome it. Think for a moment. Take your time. Take your time. The sense of loss may cause you pain, and you want to just sit back and just give up. You have to give up. We must be willing at this moment to confront this pain and stay down and move around it. We can make a small matter appear disproportionately greater than our ability. We have the ability. Yes, I see my sisters crying. It's okay. It's okay to feel bad, but you know what? It is a small thing. We have the ability to rise beyond what we're experiencing today. Through our disappointments, we must understand that the problem is not insurmountable. Whatever the challenge is, it is not overwhelming. It is not incurable. We are not beyond help. Make your plans. Every experience, no matter what it is only a temporary transitory state of consciousness. Come out from the dark. Come into the light. See, you can make change. You are the reason and the cause for change. You are Nigerian. You have the power. You can change Nigeria. Do not wait around. Do not sit around, friend, getting angry, blaming. It is all up to you. take the moment to find that time necessary for you to make a change. Enjoy the possibility that we can change Nigeria. Get together with family and friends and discuss what you can do. Nigeria is our home. Nigeria belongs to us. Even though it may be dark, the morning has to come. We must let the will of the law to do what it must do. We will be well. Nigeria shall recover from all of this. It is only temporary. I just wanted to say, okay? We can do this. All is not lost. All is not lost. I am so pumped up. I've been calling my relatives. I said, don't you dare give up. You better go the 11th of March, go out there and vote, because this is just the first step. This is just the first step. We haven't even started. This is for all Nigerians, whether you're Hausa or Yoruba or Efik or Ibibio or Igbo. It doesn't matter. You are a Nigerian. So if Nigeria works, it works for all of us, not for some of us. If you're poor today, they say no condition is permanent. That you don't have today doesn't mean you can't have tomorrow. The young woman who has her face scratched up, some man has picked her up and is taking her abroad to get her stitches taken care of and give her an opportunity to live abroad for a moment, just so she can, kind of just kind of feel better about the condition. But because she didn't give up, because she stayed on the fight, because she went back, even though she was all cut up. One young man had his hand cut. I don't know if you saw that in River State.
No.
Some of them were beaten. But they came back. They didn't leave. Some of them stayed till midnight, even into the next morning. Many of them lie in the street, hoping to see a change in Nigeria. You know what, my brothers and sisters? That change is still coming. Don't you dare give up. Although it may be dark, the morning has to come. So get ready, my brothers and sisters, because the morning is on its way. And you are going to be the ones to step outside and feel that beautiful energy of the sun on you. Anyanwu, the eyes that don't die. Chineke, God the Creator, is watching what's going on. You saw that little, what was that? The
cyclone
that blew around, just around that table as a message. That's the ancestors, as far as I'm concerned, saying, not anymore. The time for change has come. I'd like you to wrap it up with your thought. Akachi.
I'm galvanized. I know that the new Nigeria is coming, and I felt it when I was on that Twitter space, and I felt it, because we have to build and create community where we can, where there are like minds, and those people who they're not ready to fight. That's okay. Maybe they'll catch the energy because. The new Nigeria is coming. It's, in fact, as far as I'm concerned, it's already here.
Yes.
And I felt like this is the birthing pains before the birth, but it's coming.
Yes, it's coming. You just have to be patient. Sometimes, when a woman is in labor, she's in pain. When she's in labor, you know what keeps her from giving up? Because of what's at the end of the labor. Is a brand new life that she brings into the world. Nigerian youth, you're getting ready to birth a new Nigeria. It is painful. It is not easy. But you know what? You're about to do just that. You're about to change Nigeria. And by changing Nigeria, you are going to change Africa. And by changing Africa, you are going to change the world. Thank you so much for joining us in this conversation today. Akachi,
thank you.
You were awesome. Thank you so very much. And this was an impromptu show. I just had to put something together so we could talk about this thing. But anyway, I'm so glad you were able to join me. And for those of you who joined us, let me see who joined us. Brooke Berlin, thank you very much. Demezo Onyoha, Dibia Yudi Onyoha, Ukuna Ugochukwu. Thank you guys all for being here, and there are some other individuals on YouTube. So thank you. We look forward to seeing you next week when we have an actual Untomodu show. This has been Dr. Wanyon Hosemere, the talking drum. We look forward to seeing you next time. Take care.